pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please. Supervisor Underhill did call in. He will be excused. At this point, we'll open it up to citizens' comments. Any citizens wishing to speak? Okay.
Thank you, sir. Jack Rose, 4315 68th Street. I'm here to talk about income maintenance. That motion had been approved through the Human Services Committee. It was approved through the Finance Committee. And then, although it was, I believe, 11 to 10 here at the last supervisors meeting, it failed to get the 2/3 majority. And looking back, I was with you all last March, and we made a huge effort to really develop our income maintenance program here in Kenosha County. It's critical. Right now we have about 35,000 people that are on some sort of Medicaid. And that includes over 26,000 on Badger Care Plus, the elderly, those with disabilities, nearly 6,000. Senior care, prescription, 1,500. And income maintenance will help these people get their necessary benefits, answer questions. Kenosha County has an excellent income maintenance system, requiring the elderly and disabled to use a central enrollment service center, which could be a result of this should the state take over, will not work. Elderly and disabled Medicaid eligibility determination is more complicated than regular MA. Asset divestment information must go back 5 years. Without careful review, documentation of older persons will be more vulnerable to misappropriation of assets, and the Medicaid program more vulnerable to divestment. Expedited eligibility determinations are needed when patients without insurance are in the hospital and need nursing home replacement. Without fast turnaround, hospital stays could be longer. If there is some type of lapse in a consumer's eligibility for Medicaid, the following could occur. Prescriptions may go unfilled and conditions exacerbated, increasing emergency room visits, hospitalizations, or admissions to mental health institutes. Nursing homes and group homes may not be paid for a period of care and will be less likely to accept persons who receive or are less likely to be eligible for Medicaid. Consumer may be disenrolled from family care IRIS, disrupting services and requiring families and ADRCs to help more about getting them back in the system. Currently, the case overload is 20,378. There was a motion brought forward to provide 3 extra people to help alleviate this. Right now, our services, the performance, are last in comparable counties. We are at the bottom of the ladder right now, folks, and if it continues to go like this, we'll have the state take over the program. Some of you may be aware of Logisticare. This is a centralized transportation system run out of Madison. And if you've had any personal examples of what happens with that, it's pretty devastating. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Any other citizens wishing to speak? Any other citizens wishing to speak? Any other citizens wishing to speak? Seeing none, citizens' comments are closed. Announcements of the chair. On the next executive committee, we will be receiving an update on the sound system and everything that's going on in this room. So if you are interested, please come to that. They were in here working today, and I know they're in the middle of doing some stuff, so we will have an update on that next week. That's all I have. Supervisor reports. Supervisor Brunig.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to inform the board that as of Thursday, we will say goodbye to a very important person of Kenosha County. Kristen Lee is retiring her position and going up to Milwaukee to work for Habitat of Humanity. Kristen works for the Extension Education Office. She is partly funded by the state. Her position is extremely important. For those of you that have been on PDEC or on planning and development over the years, she has worked extensively with the Smart Growth Plan. She has worked very closely with the IT department, working with their new website system, and she is going to be terribly, terribly missed by this county. I just want to give everyone a heads up. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Brunig. Supervisor Boyd Frederick.
As of today, you can now go west off of 31 to 60th Street up to the school. This morning, the barrels were still up, and there was a backup there for all the way through past 31. I worked with Gary Sisma today. The barrels are down, and it shows that you can get up to the schools now, and so they'll open up part of 60th Street. The rest of the construction to clear up 60th Street will be done by late October.
Thank you, Supervisor Boyd Frederick. Supervisor Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee met prior to this meeting with the clerk. Prices were set on tax-deeded properties, and it's anticipated that the county clerk will be holding an auction in the very near future, a specific date to be set, and that will be published. I'm sure many of your constituents may be interested in that. She has a list of those particular properties as well as the prices. Those members of the Finance Committee as well have those prices if you are interested. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. Seeing no lights, we will move on.
County Executive Appointment, 15, Daniel Riley to serve on the Kenosha County Traffic Safety Commission.
Refer to Public Works and Facilities Committee.
Claims, Wayne Wisniewski, Golf Club stolen.
Refer to Corporation Council.
Gregory A. Smith, injured while incarcerated.
Refer to Corporation Council.
Supervisor Comment, Supervisor Hallman, income maintenance in the DHS 2013 budget.
Supervisor Hallman.
Mr. Chairman, I want to address the way that we debated the income maintenance resolution at our last meeting. And I want to stress that this is not an attempt to point fingers or criticize how people voted. People vote how they vote. My concern really is about the way that we debated this. There were some things said and some comparisons that were made that I feel show a deep and serious lack of respect for our citizens, and I feel like we can do better than that. The debate we had around income maintenance was framed between citizens as our people and taxpayers. It was an us versus them dichotomy. And I want us all to recognize that our citizens are our taxpayers. They are the same people. They are the ones that pay our salaries. There was a gentleman who was severely disabled who managed to make his way from his home into his car to come down here to the first floor of this building to the treasurer's office and pay his taxes. He doesn't always pay on time, but he pays, and that's generally what we consider a good citizen to be, someone who pays their taxes and abides by the law. This gentleman most likely uses our income maintenance to provide for some of the needs that he may have in his life. And I think about the way that we talked about folks who would use our income maintenance. You know, to know that it's folks that are blind, severely disabled, mentally ill, folks that are working jobs that don't pay very much money. Honestly, Mr. Chairman, I feel as though we talked about them worse than we talk about dogs. It was a very, very, very sour debate. Tax certificates went out today. You know, the list of folks who are newly delinquent on this year's taxes and have had a lien placed on their property. I just want to say the overwhelming majority of them are not residents of the 7th District. They don't necessarily look like me. We have 13 municipalities in Kenosha County, and there are folks even in the town of Paris with the taxes as comparatively low as they may be that are on that tax certificate list. Those are folks who've paid into the system that we use to operate income maintenance. And when people struggle to pay taxes, there's usually a reason. Have you seen the cost of food lately? It's gone up. Gas is still high. Folks still have medical issues. And as I stated before, our economic picture, we have jobs that provide very little income. And there's a lot of folks that are struggling to make it. And there are people, by and large, who have dreamed that they'd never be stuck in the situation that they're in, and they're extraordinarily ashamed, which is probably why they're calling on the phone. And so that makes the way that we debate things, it can instill fear in people from reaching out to get the help that they need. It's not good. It's not healthy for our democracy. It's not healthy for building our community. And folks calling are people probably calling on their lunch hour, while they're picking up their kids at school, after work, before work, between jobs. Your time is valuable, and so is theirs. So I'm saying to you tonight that we're elected officials, and that all of our citizens deserve our respect, especially in times of difficulty, and that committing ourselves to that task requires the suspension of individual arrogance and an extension of compassion. Compassion and arrogance cannot coexist in the same space. So I just want to say that in closing, I expect better of the people that I work with. And our citizens deserve the respect that we as elected officials ought to show them. And I've come to learn that doing this is my cry for help to my fellow supervisors. So yeah, the 2013 Human Services budget is around the corner. And my plea is that moving forward in our debates, that we commit ourselves to showing our citizens respect by suspending individual arrogance and extending compassion. Doing this is what makes good democracy, and it builds strong community. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Holman.
Approval of the August 21st, 2012 minutes by Supervisor O'Day.
Supervisor O'Day?
With one note change on Resolution 41, page 3. It was moved by Supervisor Noble. It just said Nudo on there.
Okay, the motion is made by Supervisor O'Day with that one change. Is there a second? A second by Supervisor Grady to approve with that change. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Pardon me? Yes. I didn't hear you. Yep.
Okay, the agenda item under Supervisor Holman's comments mentioned the 2013 budget department. Is there, that was it, the fleeting comment that it's coming up? Or was there supposed to be something presented on the budget?
Supervisor Holman?
I have in my notes just the mention of it.
All right,
Okay.
well, I think it makes sense in the future then that we agenda that issue, these issues more accurately. And I suppose income maintenance DHS 2013 budget was enough to get some people here. But if it's going to be a lecture, as we are getting accustomed to receiving from Supervisor Holman, I think it should be agended. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Molinaro. It's been moved by Supervisor Decker, second by Supervisor Esposito to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye.